What's up, 2A peeps? John with 2A Talking Tactical coming at you tonight. I know some of you have seen my last video I posted last night. After HR 5717 was brought to my attention midday yesterday, I got to looking into it, and it bothered me so much that I printed off two sets. 114 pages each. One I took up to a local gun store, or I know the guy that lives, or correction, owns it, and I do a lot of business up there in Walkertown. Then I printed off another one for my own use to keep y'all updated here on the new YouTube channel. Maybe I started this at a good time because this has really got my blood pressure up. I posted some updates here and there with some links to uh, the uh, the bill HR 5717. For those of you who have not seen it, you can go to congress.gov and just put in the search bar HR 5717, or you can just Google it. Make sure that you're looking at the website congress.gov when you read it, download it, print it, whatever. I don't want somebody else to grab a hold of it and then do their own tweaking on it. I want you to have uh, I want you to have it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So, like I said, it's 114 pages. In skimming through this, maybe skimming is not the best phrase to use. I did look at some of the highlights that caught my attention, and I read into them. And obviously, we can't get into it all in one video, so I'm going to break this up. First, I want to give a shout out to Johnny B. He does a lot of 2A stuff, keeping people up to date on happenings. I sent him a message a while ago, and just right off the bat, he replied, told him that I was new to this. So I'm just now getting my feet wet. But he's a good source of information. Just go to YouTube, and in your search field, just type in Johnny B. So anyway, the first thing I'm going to get into, instead of jumping around because there's so much in here, I'm just going to basically start from the beginning. And I encourage you all to, again, go read it for yourself. If you've got questions, post them down below, and I'll try to get to them. I'm not saying I know everything about everything, uh, but I do have a pretty good understanding of what this is. And right off the bat, it's BS. But anyway, it starts off, and pardon me, I'm not going to be looking at the camera the entire time. But it starts off. This was actually introduced January 30th of this year. The sponsor is Representative Henry C. Johnson, goes by the nickname of Hank. I've heard of him here and there. He's a Democrat out of Georgia. It was introduced on January the 30th. It's showing the last action. It was presented to the House on March the 10th for referral to the Subcommittee on Crime, Terrorism, and Homeland Security. It has to be passed by the House. It has to be passed by the Senate before it goes to the President. And then if the President signs it, then it becomes into law. I know most of y'all are aware of that, but for those of you who don't, just kind of give you, I guess, a general idea of a timeline that what all has to be done before it's accepted or not. I don't think it's going to be accepted. It's too much in here. But anyway, let me get on to it. So the first thing that it addresses is firearms licensing. Right now, if you want to go to a gun store, a gun shop, whatever, you want to buy a long gun, you can go in and say, I want that one. Here's the money. and they either call it in or they do it on the computer, but they do a NICS check. So if that NICS check comes back approved, then you're good to go. You pay them your money, you walk out the door with your new investment. If you can be denied or you can be delayed. So right now, as it stands, if someone is denied or delayed, NICS does not tell the store owner or gun dealer why you were denied or delayed. Apparently, that's going to change. Under the, uh, I guess the new way that this is going to be done is called, let me get this right. I'll figure this out sooner or later. Firearms licensing. And that's exactly what it is. It's a license. And I'm going to skip around here just a little bit. But first and foremost, from what I understand, the way it is written right now, if you get the license to purchase a firearm, it's good for 10 years. After, obviously before it expires, you have to renew. But the thing about it is, even though you get that license, it doesn't mean that you're good to go. The way this reads right now is after you get your license, say you get your license on August the 1st. Say you don't decide to buy a long gun until September the 1st. So you go to your gun dealer, you pick out your weapon, you hand them your license that you've been given by the state. I'm assuming it's going to come from your capital, whatever state you're in. So you give them a license. Well, the problem that now arises is they still have to run your name through NICS. So they run your name through NICS then, as they do now, and you're either approved, denied, or delayed. I'm going to get this right here in a little bit. So if you're approved, uh, you know, that's self-explanatory. If you are denied or delayed, the way I'm reading this, again, go read it yourself, but if say you're denied, you have to log, or they have to log your name, why you were denied, and what type of firearm you were trying to purchase. This is going into a national database. So if you're denied and you leave gun store A and you go to gun store C 10 miles down the road and you do the same thing, of course, they have to do the same process. Well, NICS is going to check it again. Obviously, you're going to be denied because you're still going, at the end of the day, you're still going through the same database. Well, they keep up with this. And from what I'm understanding, and I'll go back and reread it and make sure what I'm telling you, but from what I'm understanding is that after you're denied, and then you try to go somewhere else and you're denied again, this flags the system. I don't know if you're going to get a phone call. I don't know if you're going to get a knock on the door. I don't know if you're going to be denied from now on, if you're going to be denied for 30 days. I don't know what the deal is on that. It doesn't really get into it. But from what I'm understanding, it does flag it that you tried to make a purchase after already being made aware that you were denied. So they're going to hold that against you. So the other thing is on ammunition. And I read this for the third time just to make sure I was reading what I thought I was reading. On ammunition, you cannot buy any ammunition unless you have this uh, firearms license. The license, and it says license to own firearms and ammunition. So, and then reading in it, so if you go somewhere and you want to buy a box of 22s or a box of 45s or a box of 380 or, 300 blackout or whatever the case may be, you've got to have that license. I did not read whether or not, in order to buy ammunition, if there's still a NICS check. I did not read that, so I'm assuming not. You just have to have the license. But anyway, without that license, you can't even go buy ammo. So what that's telling me is that in getting into the guns that are banned later on, later on down the road, But and I'm really trying not to jump ahead. But say you have one of these weapons that are banned uh, from owning, possession, purchasing, whatever, however it is they've got it, labeled. Say you don't turn it in within the time allotted. Well, at that point, you are committing a felony. Um, every state's going to be a little bit different by the classes, but from what I'm understanding, it is a felony. I'm not 100%, but I'm 95% sure. Even though you have that weapon, if you shoot up the ammunition that you already have, you're still going to have that license in order to go buy new ammunition. So that got me thinking, right now there's a shortage on everything. There's a shortage on ammunition, there's a shortage on firearms, there's a shortage on reloading equipment. A friend of mine is having a real hard time finding small arms primers. So then it gets into, well, are they going to address those people who reload ammunition? So, because if you know somebody that reloads, or whether you reload yourself, there's no way of keeping up with that. So that makes me think, and I'm not trying to put ideas into their head, but that makes me think that there may be something coming down the road that in order to buy black powder, in order to buy projectiles, in order to buy lead, in order to buy primers, brass, whatever, they're going to want to keep up with that too, because it's kind of a loophole, so to speak. So anyway, try not to jump ahead. So you get this license. It's good for 10 years. It does have to be renewed. It can be revoked at any time if something comes up. Say you commit a crime and it falls in the category of where your license needs to be revoked. Uh, it One thing I don't necessarily agree with is this, and I may have a little bit of trouble finding it, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. But under eligibility, number one, it says has attained basically the age of 21 years old. Has completed a training in firearm safety, including a written test to demonstrate knowledge in applicable firearms laws. B, hands-on testing, including firing testing to demonstrate safe use of a firearm. And C, as a part of the process for applying for such license, you submitted a background investigation, criminal history check through NICS to ensure the individual is not prohibited from possessing a firearm under some subsections, has submitted a photograph, so now they're going to have a photograph of you, and you've not been determined by a court, by the federal firearms owner's license, uh, you can still legally possess. So they're going to double check that. So then, once you go through all that, as if that's not enough of a headache, what I don't necessarily agree with, and not to get off on another subject, is you've got men and women at the age of 18 that are going into the armed service. So a little bit further into this bill, uh, it basically says that you can't own a firearm or ammunition unless you're 21 years of age or possess. But then it says unless you are enlisted in the armed services. So again, not to get off on another subject, but so you're going to have individuals who are legally an adult, 18 years of age, who can go fight for our country, use some of the state of the art weaponry. Uh, I don't understand why they're prohibited from having this license. So um, you have to provide proof of legal residency, which you already have to do. A lot of this is already in place, but they have really tightened this up so there's no loopholes. When you go to renew, you basically have to verify, or I'm sorry, confirm that everything's still the same. If you're denied, uh, you can you can put in for a hearing. Um, Also, the timeline on this license is 40 days. So within 40 days of after you turn in your application, they have to let you know whether you're approved or denied. If you're denied, then they have to tell you why. So anyway, like I said, this it's 114 pages. I don't, they've gone in here and they have listed under the firearms that are banned. They've listed them by make and model. The firearms that are that you're able to own and possess and purchase are down to the make and model. It's crazy what they've done, and I'm just thumbing through. This is where I stopped. Um, this is under the firearms that you're able to purchase, possess, and own. And you can get an idea right here. I don't know if you can see it. But this is the way they've got it. I mean, they've got it down to the model. And it's categorized. I don't know if you can see right there, but rimfire rifles, bolt action, and single shots. Shotguns are are listed as over under, side by side, pump, semi-auto, single shot, whatever the case may be. I mean, they've spent a lot of time on this. So I personally don't think um, it'll pass. But I'm gonna say it now, and I'm gonna say it in every video from here on out, especially in regards to HR 5717. We had over 2 million new gun owners in the first half of 2020. And this has nothing to do with race, but my point is that I've seen a lot of individuals who are of color, and I'm talking Hispanic too, purchasing firearms, and they'll tell you, I've never owned one. I never thought I would need one. And they're buying anything from a little Sky 380 to $1,000 AR or an $800 pump shotgun for home defense. So you've got, and I've seen people spend anywhere from $250, $300 all the way up to $1,100. So what we need to do is we need to reach out and make sure that everyone, Republican and Democrat and Independent, knows that this bill is sitting on the floor to be reviewed and potentially signed by the president and put into law. I would I would think that these people who have spent this money and time and effort trying to run down what they wanted, trying to run down ammunition, trying to run down optics, magazines, whatever the case may be, that they're going to fight this. They're going to say, yeah, I'm a Democrat, yeah, I'm independent, yeah, I'm a Republican, but we're not doing this. Um, I think now the people who a year ago who didn't own or possess a firearm, who really didn't care then, didn't really see all this hoopla. Why are you fighting? Um, why are you fighting? So why are you creating problems that's not there? I heard that when I went to the Board of Commissioners meeting in Forsyth County, when we went to make Forsyth County a Second Amendment sanctuary county. I heard that. Why are you fighting a fight that's not there? Well, this is why. Um, because this is going to affect all 50 states. It's going to affect every single person, and whether they are a gun owner now or whether they may be a gun owner a year from now, if they're trying to save up money, this right here is going to deter a lot of people, and it's going to prevent a lot of people from owning what they want to own. And so I know they're going to say, well, we're not infringing on your rights to own or possess a firearm. We're only infringing on your rights to own or possess certain firearms. And not to mention, this is beyond the assault weapons ban that Bill Clinton put in, him and Joe Biden put in. You were going to be grandfathered in if you owned an AR-15 prior to the assault weapons ban of 1994. This right here, that it addresses that. If you own any of the weapons that are listed on the ban list, you have to, well, you're supposed to turn them in. I think it's within either 60 or 90 days. And they also lay out guidelines for the states to follow if they want to follow a buyback program. Another incentive for states to enforce this is there's going to be grant money. So, and also in this bill, there's so much in this bill, and I really don't mean to be jumping around, but one thing leads to another. They've got it tied up. Congress is to be made aware of applications, how many applications were granted, or let me say license, how many licenses were granted, how many licenses were denied, why they were denied, who applied and denied, I think I just said this, why they were denied, what kind of firearms were they trying to purchase, how many times did they try to purchase it, uh, and the list goes on and on. So, and it's in the bill that Congress is to be updated. I think it's on an annual basis. I think it's every year, every 6 months. I can't remember. But anyway, they're going to be updated on this right here. They want numbers, and according, if you go by this, that's exactly what they're going to get. So, and another thing I'll hit on, and then I'll call it quits for tonight. There is a section in here. It is, I'm trying to find it right quick. Extreme risk protection order. So some of you may be familiar with a domestic violence restraining order. If you've been, if you're a married couple, or you've been married, or your boyfriend, girlfriend, or, if you're in a romantic relationship with anybody, and there's domestic violence, you can go get a restraining order, also referred to as a 50B. So when you first go for your 50B, if the judge or the magistrate, depending on what state you're in, I'm in North Carolina. So in North Carolina, you go before, it's called a 50B clerk here in Forsyth. I don't know what it's called in other counties. But anyway, you go before the 50B clerk and you explain to him or her why you're seeking this protection order. So if they find probable cause, they issue what's called an ex parte. It's good for 10 days. Well, in that 10-day period, you have an actual court date. So if that ex parte is granted, the defendant has to abide by that ex parte order. If you've got guns, they're seized. You have to stay away from the person, the place that they work, stuff like that. So anyway, within that 10 days, you go to court. And then in court, both parties argue their case, and the judge at that time determines whether or not a full 1-year order is granted or not. They can deny it, they can approve it. So if it's approved and you have your firearms seized, well, you're not going to get your firearms back until the uh, restraining order expires. If they don't try to get a continuance, you can't buy a new one. On the 4473, it says, or I'm paraphrasing here, but are you able to own and possess a firearm basically because of a restraining order? So anyway, this extreme risk protection is basically, it follows the same guidelines as a domestic violence restraining order. So for example, uh, say me and my neighbor across the street, we've been friends for a year, and we have a disagreement, and I know he's got guns, and our disagreement got so bad that I don't feel like he may use one of those weapons on me. Well, then I can go down and say, hey, I want to get an extreme risk protection order. So I present my case. If the judge finds probable cause for it, the judge signs it. In this case, I'm out in the county, so they give it to the sheriff's office. Sheriff's office deputy comes out here, serves him, and takes his firearms and ammunition right there. He does not get it back until the expiration of that order or by a date that is already specified, one or the other. So before that expires, I can go back and ask for it to be extended, and it may or may not be. So to me, I feel like this is, I don't want to say watered down because it's not watered down, but this is another version of a nationwide red flag law. I know a lot of states are fighting those. I think the states that are trying to do it, they differ in one way or another. Uh, this right here is basically a nationwide red flag law. Um, if John Doe and David Doe have a disagreement and John thinks David's going to shoot him, he can go get one of these or try to get one of these. And if it's granted, then David's going to get his firearms taken away from him. So anyway, I don't I, I don't necessarily agree with that. I know, and it's called the Gun Violence Prevention and Community Safety Act of 2020. So under that headline, I get where they're going with that, and I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing. I've seen and know of several incidents where neighbors have gotten into a disagreement, an argument, whether it be over a property line or somebody, God forbid, planted a shrub on somebody else's property or whatever, and it ended up, somebody being shot and killed. I mean, I've seen that happen. So I'm not saying that I'm not saying that maybe it shouldn't, something like that shouldn't be there, but I think you really ought to have really good reason uh, for it to be granted. Uh, and I'll just leave it at that. But anyway, so I'm gonna wrap that up. I'm gonna work on some other stuff. Hopefully another video in the next day or so on HR 5717. But go Google it, download it, print it off if you got a lot of paper and you got a lot of ink. But if nothing else, just download it and go read it. You probably won't have to read it more than once because there's a lot of strike throughs. There's a lot of resort to this general statute or this bill and stuff like that. But anyway, thanks for watching, and if you haven't already done so, I would greatly appreciate it. A lot of you know I'm just starting out. This is going to be my third video. I hope I'm getting a little bit better at it. I'm still working on some graphics. But now in the link, if you're looking for concealed carry insurance, I strongly suggest you go look at U.S. Concealed Carry Association, USCCA. There is a link down at the bottom. You can click on that. Uh, it helps me out, which will in turn help the channel out. And they didn't do this when I signed up, and I've been a member since December. But they're doing some really cool giveaways. I think right now they're giving away an H&K pistol. I forgot what model number it is, but they're giving that away, and they got a lot of neat stuff on there if you sign up. So click on the link at the bottom. It's a little short URL. Um, and just again, if you would subscribe, like the video, leave me some comments, some feedback, whatever the case may be. I'm open to suggestions and whatnot. So anyway, y'all have a good night, and I will see y'all soon.